everyone. We are going to be continue reading our story. Who was Walt Disney? We are on chapter 3, Seeing the World. In 1917, once again, the Disneys had to move. The newspaper route wasn't bringing in enough money, so Elias decided the family should return to Chicago. There, he had invested in a fruit juice and jelly company. Maybe this time, his luck would change. In Chicago, Walt attended McKinley High School. Once again, he was bored in all of his classes. The only thing he liked was drawing cartoons for the school newspaper. After a year, he dropped out of school. Even though he wasn't sure what he wanted to be, Walt had faith in himself. He was sure that one day he would be a big success, maybe a newspaper cartoonist, or maybe doing something in a show business. At night, he took art classes at the Chicago Academy of Fine Arts. He also bought himself a movie camera. He and a new friend, Russell Mays, made short films together. They worked out a comedy act, but it must have been pretty bad. When the boys tried out their act at a theater, they got kicked off the stage. To support himself, Walt applied for a job with the post office. The boss said that he was too young, so Walt went home, changed his clothes, put on a man's hat, and drew a mustache on his face. Then went back to the post office, talked to the same man again, and this time he got the job. While Walt was working at the post office, two of his brothers, Herbert and Roy, were serving in the army. It was wartime, World War I. The United States had joined the fight against Germany and was sending thousands of American troops over to Europe. Walt felt as if he was missing out on all the action. To him, the war seemed like an adventure, but he was too young to enlist. Finally, he convinced his mother to sign papers to permit him to drive an ambulance. He set sail for France in November of 1918. He had not yet turned 17, but he was about to see a whole new world. The thing was, Walt never got near a battlefield. To his disappointment, the fighting had already ended by the time Walt reached France. Instead of rescuing wounded soldiers, he spent much of his time driving officers around, running errands and drawing. He drew cartoons all over the canvas flaps of the ambulance. Walt made extra cash in a dishonest way. He and a friend found some helmets of German soldiers. They scuffed them up and shot holes in them. Then Walt's friends sold them as real war souvenirs. Walt returned home a year later in October in 1919. He was almost 18. His family hardly recognized him because he had grown so much taller. He had filled out and looked like a man. Walt was also hooked on cigarettes, a terrible habit he never quit. Elias Disney wanted his son to work in Chicago at the jelly factory, but Walt wasn't interested. Against his father's wishes, he decided to go back to Kansas City and find work as an artist. Walt Disney was ready to strike out on his own. All right, chapter 4, Drawings That Move. In Kansas City, Walt teamed up with another artist. He had a very unusual name, Ub Eworks. Ub was shy and serious, not at all like Walt. Ub was also very talented. The two started their own company. They hoped to create art for ads and signs. They had plenty of ideas. They were missing only one thing, customers. The shop closed after only a month. Soon after, Walt and Ub found jobs at the Kansas City Slide Company. It turned out to be a lucky break. The slide company changed Walt's life. He learned all about animation. Animation is a film of drawing that move, cartoons. In 1920, cartoons were something new. Audiences were amazed to watch drawings of funny people and animals actually move on the screen. Artists competed with each other to invent new techniques for cartoons. Walt wanted to get in on the action. So he went to the library and took out a book called Animated Cartoons, How They Are Made, Their Origin and Development by Edwin G. Lutz. He studied the book. Then he set up a studio in the shed behind his house. Every evening he drew cartoon characters in different positions and filmed them. It might take 18 drawings to just show a person raising an arm. Animation takes lots of time, but hard work never stopped Walt. He called his cartoons laughograms. They were silent, full of slapstick humor, and only lasted a couple of minutes. Some were based on fairy tales, but Walt would change the story a little to make it funnier. After selling a laughogram cartoon to the Newman Theater in Kansas City, he started up a small company to make more. Walt recruited artists to help him make cartoons. After all, he couldn't do all the drawings himself. The problem was that he couldn't afford to pay a steady salary. Instead, he promised to share any money that he earned from the cartoons. His friend, Ub Earworks, and a few other young men joined Walt in his new business. They spent the day drawing characters, making up jokes, and goofing around with a movie camera. Walt worked on one film called Alice's Wonderland. It was about a real little girl named Alice, played by a four-year-old actress named Virginia Davis. Walt's Alice finds herself in a cartoon world. Mixing live characters with animation was something new, but before he finished Alice's Wonderland, Walt's company went bankrupt. He even had to sell his movie camera. Kansas City was not the center for entertainment business. Walt knew that. If he wanted to make it big, he had to go where movies were made. Hollywood. All right, our next page is going to be chapter 5, so we are going to stop right there. There is this page if you want to pause it and read it.